taught me many years ago, Georgie boy, you're going to have to be twice as good to get half as much, because if you're black and mediocre in America, you better leave. And you think it's bad now? You think this is bad? Shit. Are you kidding me?
Welcome to the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, entrepreneur, Cornell Jermaine.
Listen, you guys, we have a special treat. He is Black America's #1 networker, one of the top 50 brokers in Black America. Well accomplished. He's an author, speaker, entrepreneur, and a wealth building guru. Please help me welcome Dr. George Fraser. Dr. George, we are so happy to have you on. We need, look, I see all the books and content that you have back there. We want to pull on as much as we can get tonight, because as Black people in our country today, we need some wisdom, and especially as it pertains to our finances and freeing ourselves economically. Let's start first with what we're dealing with as it pertains to racism and social injustice in our community. You're a man of wisdom, a man of faith. Speak to that and give us your perspective on that issue.
Racism is evil. It has always been with us, certainly the 400 years we have been in this country, 500 years when you include colonialism on the continent. It will always be with us, along with white privilege. Although white privilege may be mitigated to some degree post George Floyd, but it will always be with us at some level. So as an elder, 75 years old, having served the Black community for 40 years, I'm a student of our people. I am a race man. And a race man or a race woman is someone who's made a commitment to invest their time, talent, and treasure back into his own community first. My advice to young brothers and sisters is never use racism as a reason to fail. Because if you use racism as a reason to fail, you're going to fail, because there is racism. Therefore, racism wins and you lose. I refuse to lose to racism. How do you beat racism as a Black person? You beat it with Black excellence and exceptionalism. That's how you beat it, with Black excellence and exceptionalism. My mama taught me many years ago, Georgie boy, you're going to have to be twice as good to get half as much, because if you're Black and mediocre in America, you better leave, because you will be marginalized and you will ultimately be destroyed in this country. Black people cannot be mediocre. Only white people can be mediocre. We see that in Donald Trump as compared to Barack Hussein Obama. If Barack Hussein Obama had said 1/1000th of what Donald Trump had said or done, he wouldn't have been elected dog catcher. Only white people can be mediocre. And we must get that clear in our mind. Therefore, we must advance our lives with the quality of intellectual curiosity. We must be curious about all things. Intellectual curiosity drives reading. You see what's behind me, right? This is my office. There's 1,000 books behind me in my office. There are 25,000 books in my home. In fact, my wife is considering divorcing me because she thinks I'm subtly moving her out of the house because I have more books than space. So, intellectual curiosity, which leads and is the foundation for critical thinking. And it is critical thinking as Black people, outsmarting, out-innovating, out-creating, all of which we have demonstrated, outperforming even. Wherever the rules are clear and the playing field is level, not only have Black people been able to compete, i.e. Take any sports or any entertainment category. Not only can we compete, we will dominate. Not only that, we will change the game on your ass in a New York minute, given the opportunity. It has just been available to us fundamentally in the world of entertainment and music, in the world of sports, of which we dominate. So I chuckle at this whole notion of white privilege. So what, right? It doesn't matter to me, because I don't care how much privilege you have. You ain't going to outsmart me, outwork me, outcompete with me, outread me, out-innovate me. I'll beat you at your own game. And there are millions of brothers and sisters who are classic examples of that thinking. Millions, not a few, not an exception here or there. No. Millions going back to slavery. You know, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, we can name them. And every big movement in the 400 years since we have been here, there have been large numbers of brothers and sisters. And you think it's bad now? You think this is bad? Shit. Are you kidding me? Right? I'm 75, right? I was born in 1945. There was no such thing as civil rights, voting rights, fair housing, public access. There was Jim Crow, black law, black codes. No, this is bad. I'm not mitigating it. I'm not minimizing it. No, it's all relative, but it's not nearly as bad as it has been. And it will slowly but surely get a little bit better over time. But in the meantime, we still have to do what we have to do, right? So you can use racism if you want as a reason to fail. You're going to fail. I just refuse to use it. Frederick Douglass refused to use it. Roger Smith refused to use it. I mean, I could just name you. Jay-Z refused to use it, right? We can take every genre, every category, and we can list at least 100 people off at the top of our heads who just said, okay, well then I'll make a move around it. They can't stomp that out. They never have been able to. And that's what they fear. I don't blame them for fearing us. They should be afraid of us. They really should be, right? They know who we are, right? We are the children of the slaves that would not die. We have the genetic encoding of the great kings and queens of Africa. We were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures, Europeans, were living in caves, eating each other. We are an awesome and powerful people, and in spite of the fact that America kept its foot on our throat, we overcame that and we rose like the phoenix. So if everything happens for a reason and serves us in some special way, and you will never understand that reason looking forward, and you will only understand it looking backwards, if that is in fact the truth, and it is the truth, maybe we were not brought here, maybe we were sent here. Do you believe that God would put his weakest people here to do his toughest job? How could an America who can morally, spiritually, and biblically justify the kidnapping, raping, and pillaging of another two people have any moral or spiritual grounding? And perhaps had God not sent Africans here, America might have self-destructed by now.
My, that's heavy. Wow. You made a statement, and I know there are people out there curious about the logic behind that. You said it will always be with us. Mm-hmm. Give us some insight into why that is.
We're not the dominant culture. We're feared. Now that may change someday, in a sense that it's predicted by 2053, 10 years, but by 2043, the majority will be the minority. They'll be the largest minority in America. But wherever white folks have been, they have been in the minority. Whether it's how they colonized Africa, they took over every country, but they're still the minority. But they have had unique ways of dominating the majority, both psychologically, weaponizing not only words, but ammunition, and utilizing this, let's say in the African countries, co-opting the African leadership into cooperating with them. Now that even existed during slavery. Now let's not get it twisted. You don't take 20 million people out of a country by sneaking them out. That don't happen. You ain't kidnapping 20 million black people. There is some cooperation there. Come on. If you've been to Elmina in Ghana, to the door of no return, there's a big bronze plaque on the outside door of the entering into the slave dungeons, which is a big apology of Ghanaians to African Americans for their participation in the slave trade. Now, we were tricked and bamboozled, as Malcolm taught us. They basically, in essence, said that we want to utilize your people in our country to help build it. We will educate them and we will train them and we will send them back to you as better African citizens. Of course, that was all bullshit. And we went for it to some extent. So racism is entrenched. And until we launch a propaganda campaign, and I mean that in a positive way, to re-educate and to awaken Black people on who they really are, understanding their roots, because it was Dr. John Henrik Clarke said a tree without roots cannot grow. The Sankofa bird, which is one of the traditional symbols on the continent, is a bird flying forward while looking backwards, right? So we must understand our history. Most of us do not. Most of us have some superficial knowledge of the last 400 years of history. But when you look at African history, it began 6,500 years before Christ. It's 885. I'm talking about civilized. We civilized the world. It was not what Europeans said, that they came to Africa, pulled us from trees eating bananas and civilized us. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. We were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems 6,000 years before Christ. Most of us do not know our African history. They have forgotten the 8,000 years of progress that we brought. We civilized this world. They knew that. They understood that. And part of that, their psychology in colonizing us and enslaving us, was to help us to forget, to deny, to take credit for those things that we have done. This is how you control a people that you fear, that are bigger, stronger, more beautiful than you. So you got to do something to control them. Not only that, but they outnumber you in your own country. So how do you control that? You can't kill them all. Well, right, then you're defeating the purpose. You need them to work, to be enslaved. You need them to work for nothing. So when we get that, all hell will break loose, because then we will unify. There are 1.6 billion Africans in the diaspora. We are the second largest race on earth. The first are Asians at 4.4 billion. Second are Africans descended at 1.6 billion. The smallest race on earth of the three major colors are Europeans, about 1 billion. So they're doing everything they need to do to survive, because they're not even replacing themselves, right? Their birth rate is not equal to their death rate, so to speak. So they are fearful of being eliminated, overpowered, and that we would do the same thing to them that they did to us. But we don't roll like that. We don't roll like that. We're not inherently evil people. There's a difference between African-centered thinking and Eurocentric thinking. That's a fundamental difference between Black folk and white folk. So no, even if we became numerically the most powerful which is very possible, certainly between blacks and white in the world, we would not do to white people what they have done to us. We don't even think that way, right? So until such time as we move away from that, and I'll tell you how that's going to happen, it will always be at some level. Racism and white privilege will always be at some level, Now, here's how we're going to get out of it all. I'll never see it. You'll never see it. Your grandchildren will never see it. And your great-grandchildren will never see it. In America, we will ultimately screw our way out of it.
Wow.
In about 100 to 150 years, another 5 to 7 generations, we will be so mixed up in race, with intermarriages, interracial marriages, et cetera, all that stuff's on the rise right now. You won't know who's who.
Well, we gotta jump into the topic of wealth, black wealth, building black wealth. I think in our culture, and don't get me wrong, there are many who are wealthy in our culture, but the majority, we have a working knowledge of money. You know, we know how to get money. But I think our concept of wealth need a little fine tuning. So give us a working definition. How do you define wealth?
There's so many simple ways you could say it's not what you earn, it's what you keep and how you leverage it. That is wealth. A real simple way to say it is real wealth is real freedom. Your ability to pick and choose and to do what it and when you want to. The Bible tells us that money answers all things. Wealth is also a mindset, as poverty is a mindset. So there are many ways philosophically one could look at it, and then practically we know when we have some semblance of wealth, or we feel some semblance of wealth, and we all sort of, maybe at different points in our lives, reach this point where we have a very solid financial portfolio, we have good money in the bank, and we feel a sense of wealth, a sense of calm, a sense of freedom, a lack of fear, that we are protected, our assets, our intellectual assets, our heart assets are protected. And we feel a sense of comfort, which for us is translated, we feel, in a sense, wealthy. Now, it's not the stupid wealthy, the stupid money that we see and hear and read about, but we can acquire a sense of wealth, a sense of comfort, a lack of fear with proper planning. But at this moment in time, Cornell, Black America, around the concept of wealth, is in an existential crisis, to be candid with you. And until Black America puts Black America first, Black America will always be last when it comes to economics. We are the most financially illiterate people in America. We must fix that. What's the first thing slaves did when they became free? They began building small classrooms to educate themselves in small schools, and then within 100 years they had an entire system of historically Black colleges and universities. Education. So if one is illiterate in a particular subject matter, like money, like economics, like capitalism, one has to get themselves educated. Either they can do it through parental guidance, experiential, failure and mistakes, twists and turns. There are all kinds of ways people get educated. The best way is to get some formal education and then go out and apply that education and get the experience and ultimately the wisdom necessary to properly manage wealth. Because Black and beautiful means nothing unless you're Black and powerful. That you can't be Black and proud and niggas too. The white folks are planning for 3 generations, and we're planning for Saturday night. The goal is to win Cornell, not to look like we're winning. I would rather carry a plastic bag with $5,000 in it than to carry a $5,000 Louis Vuitton bag with $100 in it. You just looking like you winning. You ain't winning. Louis Vuitton is winning. Armani is winning. Gucci is winning. Nike is winning. Your ass ain't winning. You're consuming. We are the consumption class. Black people in America, white people are the merchant class. They make stuff, we buy stuff. We must stop that and fix that. It is interesting to me, Cornell, that the rich stay rich by pretending to be poor, and the poor stay poor by pretending to be rich. We don't fix this. We are headed into a second slavery if nothing changes. We're headed into a second slavery. There was an interesting piece in a major study by the Institute of Policy Studies in April of 2018. Major study on the state of economics and wealth in Black America. And basically what it said, and I'll quote you the final paragraph from this study. I quote, by 2053, just 10 years after the majority becomes the minority, it is projected that if nothing changes among Black people in America, Black median families will own zero wealth if the trends continue. Well, try to operate in a market-based economy and a democratic capitalistic society without money. You're basically in a second slavery. You will have worked your way into a second slavery. Now, no one is going to fix that, Cornell, but Black people. White people will not be saving Black people. It's been 400 years and we ain't saved, right? I don't know. They're not fixing us. In fact, they're not even really thinking about us in any significant way. You know what white people are thinking about? They're thinking about white people. They're thinking about their husbands, their wives, their children, their businesses, their schools, their community, and your pockets. That's what they're thinking about. They do not get up in the morning, get around the conference table and say, oh, what are we going to do for Black people today? It ain't going to happen. So unless we fix it, it will not be fixed. Now, we can fix it. We will fix it. But we have to educate ourselves. It was the great Dr. Amos Wilson. And if you don't know Amos Wilson, go to YouTube and look at his videos that he recorded before he died in 1995. One of the things that Amos Wilson talked to Black people about, he said that our refusal as Black people to confront the issue of money and wealth is going to end up with our very lives being threatened as people on this earth. To address that issue, because I'm not one to pontificate ad nauseum about our issue. In fact, I think fundamentally, I'm getting a little bit off the subject now, but I think fundamentally, this is one of the problems in our culture. And that is, we want progress without execution. We want progress without execution. So we have to execute. I love Black Lives Matter. I support Black Lives Matter. I am so glad to see those generation X, Y, and Z and millennials in the streets doing the work that we did back in the day with Dr. King. That's a beautiful thing. And young Black people are unapologetically Black. I love them for that. But at the end of marching and saber rattling, you have to organize and you have to execute. Execute. 12 years ago, I began focusing on financial education in Black America. I started something called the Moses Movement, making ourselves economically successful, then put together the 10 commandments of financial education and began teaching classes online, Every Tuesday, about 1,000 people would join me. I would give lessons in financial education that morphed into the WINS Wealth Building Centers and curriculum. So that is identifying a problem, Cornell, and then creating a system to execute to mitigate that problem. That's what has to happen. And I am hell bent on making sure that we get to where we need to be before, or at least put a structure in place before I'm out of here. We have a curriculum. It's a 75 module curriculum. Every element of financial education you could possibly want to learn about in our wealth building centers. But in essence, we focus on the 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. The 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. Proverbs 13:22 tells us what? That a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Front page article in USA Today not long ago, I hope you saw it, about black baby boomers and their money. Here's what it said, and I quote the final paragraph. African-American baby boomers are the first generation of Africans in America to raise another generation of Africans in America that will not do better than them. So in the 400-year history of our people, we are the only generation to raise another generation that will be worse off. We need our black asses kicked. We cannot allow that to happen on our watch. I'm the oldest of baby boomers at 75. The youngest baby boomer is 55. We must fix that. That cannot be our legacy. So, Dr. Fraser, what are the 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth? The first pillar for the I hope our listeners are taking notes here. The first pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth is the proper management of accumulated wealth. So we can stop reading about athletes and entertainers who earn $100 million in their lifetime, and within 5 years of retirement, they're either broke or in bankruptcy. That's the improper management of accumulated wealth. Reading about black people that have won the lottery, within 5 years, they're broke. That is the improper management of accumulated wealth. Let me say that a different way. I am very good at what I do. I'm considered as the top 50 power brokers in Black America. I'm very good at what I do. I'm very good at speaking. I'm very good at writing. I have 6 best-selling books. I know how to do that. I know how to organize. I know how to lead. You know what I don't know how to do, as smart as I am? I don't really know how to really manage my money. So I don't do that, Cornell. And neither does LeBron James. LeBron James is very good at basketball, but he's terrible at managing money. You know who manages LeBron James' money? Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's very good at managing money. If you gave Warren Buffett a basketball and a step ladder and told him to dunk it, he'd miss the dunk. He don't know anything about basketball, but he knows everything about managing money, the best in the world. So that's who LeBron has managed his $40 million a year. That's the proper management of accumulated wealth. You're an expert at what you do what you do, make all the money that you can make doing that, and then find a brother or a sister out here, right, that is an expert, and that's all they do is manage money. There are 2.2 million black households worth $400,000 or more. Most of that's tied up in real estate. There are 35,000 black millionaires in America. Don't get excited. There are 1.3 million white millionaires in America. The question is, are we properly managing that wealth? And the answer is hell to the no, right? So we have to make sure that the money we earn is properly managed by people that know and understand and is proven in the world of managing money. Don't play with your money. You work too hard. In fact, your goal is to put your money to work as hard for you as you did for it.
Yeah.
That's the goal, right? You get your money, however you get it, so hopefully it's legal. And you take that money and you put the damn money to work. You worked hard to get it. It needs to work twice as hard for you. That requires knowledge, skills, and there are people that have that. And unless that's your avocation and you work and then you spend hours studying all the areas of money management, studying the stock market, studying cryptocurrency, studying all the various machinations to include in your financial portfolio, unless you want to do that, then you better give it to somebody who's made a life's work of studying. So that's the first pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth, the proper management of accumulated wealth. The second pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth is real estate. What's the first thing God gave Adam? Real estate. What's the first thing God gave Isaac? Real estate, real estate, real estate, real estate. They ain't making anymore. We came over here on the Mayflower. We own the fewest number of homes per capita of any cultural group in this country. We know that there are a lot of systemic racist reasons for it. That was then, this is now. Real estate. I made my first fortune in the 70s in real estate, Cornell, buying 2 and 3 family homes in a white neighborhood that was turning black. Those white folks wanted to get the hell out of there. I bought those homes for pennies on a dollar. I don't think I paid more than $13,000 for a 2-family pristine home. $13,000. Now this is in the early 70s, Cornell. I wasn't flipping them though. What I was doing, they were 2 and 3 family homes. I bought 8 of them in a row on the same street. I turned them all into Section 8 housing because they were paying the most money per door. But I made sure I was very selective in my Section 8 renters, African Americans. And I kept those houses, accelerated depreciation, took all the tax write-offs, tax write-downs, almost got to zero. I kept those houses for about 13 years, and then I sold them for 20 times what I bought them for. I made my first fortune in real estate. Real estate. Real estate. That's the second pillar. The third pillar is business ownership. By the end of the 21st century, we must become the #1 employer of our own people. And every immigrant group that has ever come to this country has understood that for Black people. Jews are the #1 employer of Jews. Asians are the #1 employer of Asians. East Indians are the #1 employer of East Indians. Arabs are the #1 employer of Arabs. Ultimately, we must become the #1 employer of our own people because that's the only way to raise up the poor, is to create work and jobs for your people, as every immigrant group does. In fact, Asians open lots of restaurants in urban neighborhoods, as you know. If you go into an Asian restaurant and there are 4 brothers waiting on you, leave. That's not a real Asian restaurant, because Asians don't employ Black people. They employ Asian people. And you can't hate on them for that, because that's what we ought to be doing. Business ownership. But the first step in business ownership is adopting what I call an entrepreneurial mindset. We don't even think like that. And not that we used to. Civil rights was a double-edged sword for us. Integration was a double-edged sword for us. We began integrating into white neighborhoods, pulling our children out of the urban schools because we thought the little white genes, if we sat our Black children next to those little white kids, that their little white genes would jump into Black children and make them smarter. That experiment failed. All right. So we left our neighborhoods, we left our businesses, and we have lost a lot as a result of that. So thinking entrepreneurially simply says, I will take risks, I will take responsibility, and I will take ownership in my own life. Once you begin thinking like that, Cornell, that could eventually morph into entrepreneurship. But first things first, second things never. You got to get your head right, because entrepreneurship is no joke, my brother. It's no joke. And so you have to have the right constitution, the right mindset, the right attitude to get out here and sword fight, right, with these folks out here, right? So I've been in business for 34 years. I mean, think about it. How many brothers and sisters you know who've been in business for 34 years, other than a funeral home, right? Maybe barbershop or a beauty salon. But there's only a handful, only a small percentage of brothers and sisters going into business that has sustained themselves serving Black people for 34 years.
Yeah.
Might be a few restaurants around. I think there's one in DC, that kind of thing. So business ownership, so that we can become top employers of our own people. And then the fourth and final pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth is proper insurance. Proper insurance. 60% of all wealth is transferred tax-free through strategic and tactical placement of proper insurance. And it was only 1965 when Black people were allowed to purchase proper insurance. Prior to that, all we could buy was death insurance. I remember my mother paying $5 a month to Atlanta Life agent, and it was for a death policy that barely covered her death costs. Only 1965, a brother was hired, Cirillo McSween, by New York Life. He was the first Black person in America to be able to sell whole life and term life and all those other insurance. The New York Times came out with an interesting article on Black people and their cell phones. And what they discovered is that more Black people have insurance on their cell phones and on their lives and the lives of their children by a factor of 10. So we value our cell phones and more than we value our lives or the lives of our children. Proper insurance. Proper insurance. Those are the four pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. To fulfill our moral and spiritual obligation, we're outside of our own spiritual teaching. So,
wow,
we could talk for hours on this. I wanted to give you a 30,000-foot view. I want to remind our brothers and sisters that there should not be a Black person in America with a single stream of income. When you come to the Power Networking Conference, October the 11th to the 14th, it's 19 years old. Forbes magazine named it one of the top 50 conferences in America not to be missed. Every major Black thinker and speaker has spoken at this conference over the last 19 years. We have a stellar lineup this year. But we teach you how to double your streams of income. You should be doubling your streams of income every year. If you come to the Power Networking Conference with a single stream, we'll teach you how to have two. If you come with two, we'll teach you how to have four. If you come with four, we'll teach you how to have 8. I have 11 streams of income. Right? I'm not bragging. I'm just saying. Now, some of them are 2 streams from the same category. There are 7 major streams of income in America. The first is earned income, and that's income from working a job. Now, you can work 2 jobs. That's 2 streams of income. Both of them are from working a job, 2 different jobs. There's profit income, and that's income from buying and selling. In America, 2 things are going on 24/7. Somebody's buying and somebody's selling. Right now, we're doing all the buying. Stop that, brothers and sisters. Start selling something. Learn the art and science of selling. Most people hate selling. Most Black people hate selling. Wrong. If you bake cookies, put them in a box, put your name on it, and sell it to somebody. If you live on a farm, take the manure, put it in a bag, put your name on it, and sell it to somebody. You can become an entrepreneur. but stop doing all the damn buying. So profit income from buying or selling. Profit from buying, yeah. You buy the right art, as I have, you'll make a profit when you sell it. You buy the right automobile, you could possibly, when you get ready to sell it after you've used it, you can make a profit from it. So buying or income from profit, income from buying and selling, that's profit income. That's number 2. Number 3 is interest income, and that's income from lending money. Now, that's pretty exotic. Most of us are not in that position. A few of us are. But you can make money from lending money. How do you think banks exist? Right? All right. So number 4 is dividend income. And that's income from owning stocks, bonds, mutual funds, cryptocurrency, you name it. Dividend income, mailbox money, money you've put to work that's working while you're sleeping. Dividend income, that's number 4. Number 5 is rental income, income from renting a home. Huge. Number 6 is capital gains income, assets from increasing in value. Louis Vuitton does not increase in value. There are things that you can buy that increase in value. Gold increases in value, at least sustained value. Diamonds, buy a diamond, walk out the store, go back in to the store and try to sell them that diamond. You will not get what you paid for it. The same thing with most automobiles. They're selected automobiles. If you buy a vintage Ferrari, it's going to increase in value. You buy a great piece of art by a well-known artist, it's going to increase in value. Capital gains from assets that increase in value, like homes, generally speaking. That's capital gains. And the final stream of income is what is called royalty income. And that's income from using other people using your ideas. I've written 6 best-selling books. Every 6 months, I get a check from my publisher, from people buying my books, reading my ideas. Right? So you can do that in music. You can do it in writing. There's all kinds of ways in which you can do it. Websites, or not websites, but webinars and teaching your knowledge that you have learned. Royalty income, income from other people using your ideas or purchasing your knowledge, however they purchase it. Those are the 7 income streams. And you can do multiple streams from a single stream. That's how you can have 10, 11, 12 types of income. You could have book royalty income, and you could have music royalty income. You could be serving on paid boards. That's a stream of income. I serve on paid boards. So this is what I want to encourage our brothers and sisters to, as they get older and wiser, to consider multiple streams of income in the various ways in which one can secure streams of income.
Oh, so good, Dr. Fraser. You've got to give us, for the WINS Wealth Building Center, how can individuals take a course, and how does that work?
What individuals should do, we are going to have an online course in WINS. It isn't up now. Right now, it is a system that we install in the Black church. And they could go to their pastor and say, we know of a system that you can begin teaching, giving financial education on a Thursday night, like you give Bible study on a Wednesday night. There's a whole system. It's a Very simple system. We give you all the tools, all the training. If you have a progressive pastor that wants, when church gets back going, wants to do that, and most of them do, you can get in touch with me at gfraser@frasernet.com. That's gfraser, Fraser, @frasernet.com. And let me know, and I will send you all the information you need about how to start a WIN center in your church or in your community center, in your sorority, in your fraternity. It is a modest licensing fee. That's all it is. And then we give you all the tools.
Wow. So good, Dr. Fraser. Before we go, you got to give us the information for the Power Networking event again. Let us know how we can get tickets and how we can be a part.
Boyce Watkins will be with us. Dr. Randall Pinkett will be with us, and the Honorable Julius Garvey, the son of Marcus Garvey, will be getting our first annual Marcus Garvey Legends Award. Julius is the son of Marcus Garvey, so you will meet him. He's 86. We spent a couple of weeks in Africa together last November. He's an incredible brother. I'll do an interview with him, and you'll meet a legend. So it's October the 14th through the 17th in Houston, Texas. We are an award-winning conference. We're 19 years old. Every renowned Black speaker has spoken at the Power Networking Conference one time or another. So you're going to learn from the best and brightest. Our goal is that we focus on business and money. That's what we focus on. We have one third focus, and that's wellness, psychological wellness and physical wellness, because they're related. But fundamentally, 4 days from 7 in the morning to midnight, we have what we call after dark classes. And they start at 9 o'clock, they finish at midnight, and you can't get in them. That's how hungry we are for knowledge on the subject of business and money. Remember, Forbes magazine named us one of the top 5 conferences in America, not to be missed, not one of the top 5 Black conferences. One of the top 5 of all the conferences in this country, not to be missed. When you come to the conference, your goal is to connect, grow, and prosper. That's what we stand for. When you leave the conference, you will understand that your life's goal as a Black person is to learn, earn, and return. We got a lot of us learning and a lot of us earning, but not enough of us returning. The only people that will save Black people is Black people.
So true. Well, Dr. Fraser, I appreciate you taking the time. You guys jump in, get this offer. It is necessary for our community. Dr. Fraser, my best to you and the team there. We so appreciate you. Keep doing this work. It is so necessary.
I appreciate you, my brother. You're doing good work. You're doing God's work. Stay the course. And if you ever need me, don't hesitate to call.
Well, this has been the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. I'm your host, Cornell Jermaine. Until next time, let your soul be made whole. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Build on Beauty podcast. For more information about our host, please visit cornelljermaine.com.